You know those chill, lo-fi beats, the one that seem to power every study session and late-night work grind on the internet? Well, it might seem simple, but there's a real art and, a bit of a science behind that cozy, nostalgic sound. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on how it's all made, from the basic music theory all the way to the AI tools that are completely changing the game.
So here's the plan. First, we'll break down the actual DNA of a lo-fi track. Then we'll get into the musical nuts and bolts, the chords and loops that make it all tick. After that, we're going to explore how producers get that signature, imperfect vibe. And then, we'll look at the AI assistants that can do it for you in seconds. And finally, we'll ask what's next for the future of chill beats.
All right, first things first. What exactly are we hearing when we listen to lo-fi? I mean, what are the ingredients that give it that unmistakable character?
Well, at its core, lo-fi is literally short for low fidelity. Think about it. Most modern music is trying to sound as pristine and crystal clear as possible. Lo-fi does the exact opposite. It leans right into the flaws. It's all about creating this intimate, kind of nostalgic mood by deliberately adding imperfections that remind us of old vinyl records or dusty cassette tapes.
And these are the core ingredients. The tempo's nice and slow, relaxed, perfect for unwinding. The drums are soft, so they're not yelling for your attention. Producers use effects like saturation to give everything a vintage warmth. But for me, the real magic is in the ambient textures. Things like vinyl crackle or the sound of rain in the background. Those little details build a whole world around the music. Okay, so what's the emotional core of lo-fi? What's that secret ingredient that gives these tracks their dreamy, sometimes kind of sad feel? It's all in the chords.
See, instead of using simple, basic chords, lo-fi producers almost always reach for more complex, jazzy ones. Chords like major sevenths and minor ninths have these extra notes that create a really rich, soulful, and dreamy texture. And you don't even need to know the theory to feel it. It's what gives the music that wistful, thoughtful quality. It's what takes a simple little melody and turns it into something truly emotional.
So you've got your sound, you've got your chords. Now, how do you actually structure it? Well, the answer is deceptively simple. It is all about the loop.
And get this, an entire 2-minute lo-fi track is often built from just one short musical idea. A simple 4 to 8 bar loop, that's it. This is the foundation, the musical phrase that just repeats and evolves a little bit throughout the entire song. A really strong loop is basically the key to a great track.
So how do you turn one little loop into a whole song? Producers use this super simple structure, often called A-B-A-B. So A might be just the piano loop playing by itself. Then for B, you bring in the beat. Then you can drop the beat out for another A section, maybe with a tiny change, before bringing it all back for the end. It's all about adding and subtracting layers to create a sense of movement. And this simple, predictable pattern is exactly why it works so well for focus and study. It's just interesting enough to keep the track going, but not so complex that it's going to distract you.
Okay, we have our chords, we have our loop structure. Now for the real magic. This is the stage where a clean, digital recording gets totally transformed into a warm, vintage-sounding lo-fi track.
I think the best way to think of it is like putting a vintage photo filter on your sound. You start with something clean, precise, totally digital, but after you apply these effects, it becomes warm, nostalgic, and just beautifully imperfect. Some producers even say the final sound feels a bit underwater, almost like you've put a soft blanket over the speakers.
So how is it done? Well, here's the producer's toolkit. They'll use heavy compression to kind of glue all the sounds together. A chorus effect adds that subtle warble you'd hear on an old tape machine. They'll use an EQ to roll off all the bright, high frequencies. That's what creates that blanket over the sound feeling. And finally, they'll add warmth with saturation and then layer in those field recordings, like rain or a cafe, to really add some depth and a sense of place.
Now, creating this vibe used to take a lot of technical skill and a lot of time. But today, there's a new wave of technology that's making lo-fi production accessible to, well, absolutely everyone. Let's talk about your new AI co-producer. A whole ecosystem of AI tools has popped up that can generate lo-fi music just from a simple text prompt. Platforms like Kaping, Soundverse, Suno, and Udio. They let you type in a description and then boom, within moments you have a fully produced, royalty-free lo-fi track that's ready to go.
Of course, choosing the right tool really depends on the job. Suno is built for pure speed and simplicity. It's perfect if you need a quick track for a social media video. Udio, on the other hand, gives you way more control. The quality is studio grade, and it has tools to help you craft more complex songs, which makes it ideal for full-length tracks.
So, this explosion of new tools, plus the genre's really unique format, raises some pretty interesting questions about where lo-fi is even headed. Let's take a quick look at the future of chill beats.
One of the most defining things about lo-fi is its length. I mean, if you look at any of the popular playlists, you'll notice that most tracks hover right around the 2-minute mark. Sometimes it's a minute, sometimes it's 2.5 minutes, but 2 minutes is really the sweet spot.
And that shorter format isn't a limitation, it's totally intentional. It makes these songs absolutely perfect for their main environment. Endless streaming playlists for focus and relaxation. The music is designed to just flow seamlessly from one track to the next without ever demanding your full attention.
And that brings us to our final and maybe biggest question. With AI that can generate infinite 2-minute loops of mood music on command, the barrier to entry has never, ever been lower. It kind of leaves us to wonder, as these tools get even more powerful and easier to use, what will it actually mean to be a musician in the world of lo-fi and really beyond? It's a fascinating thing to think about.